Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rasslin and Racin podcast, brought to you by Arden's Burger and Grill in Central South Carolina, and also Dorsey Auto Sales in Anderson, South Carolina. Well, folks, we're going to get right to it. This show will not be one of our longest, but we do want to bring you up to date with NASCAR that happened yesterday, and they was at North Wilkesboro. And folks, if I don't know if you went to YouTube, but they actually had their scoreboard is manually done. They had this guy up there changing the numbers constantly for this race, and that was just wild. I mean, you would think they would have put a big scoreboard, digital, and all that. No, this guy was up there doing manual numbers, and he was wore out at the end of the race. I think they was taking turns because the video shows this one guy, and it's like every time he turned around, somebody changed in the top five. I mean, it only showed the top five, but I mean, that was enough for this guy to be wore out. And I think he had a couple beers because he was looking like, oh my Lord, what did I get myself into? Well, all right, but let's get it brought in. Ref Brandon, how's it going, Ref?
Absolutely amazing.
Well, Ref, tell us a little bit about what happened yesterday in North Wilkesboro real quick.
Well, the guy that I've been saying for about 3 weeks now that people better watch out for because he always seemed to do just good enough to make the playoffs, and he ended up winning yesterday, so now he's firmly in the playoffs. With yesterday's race, there's 5 more races to go in the regular season. Last week we talked about how the only 2 drivers that had clinched the playoff spot was Hamlin and Reddick, but after yesterday, now Ryan Blaney has also clinched, so now we got 3 drivers already in, and Blaney is catching Reddick for second place in the regular season standings, but Joey Logano came home with the win. Then we had Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, Shane Van Gisbergen, Bubba Wallace, Brad Keselowski. Todd Gilliland comes home 8th place, and then Daniel Suarez 9th, and Ryan Reese rounded out the top 10. So good to see Todd Gilliland get a top 10. Now, Ross Chastain had the fastest lap, but just like last week when it went to Ware and it meant nothing, yesterday it goes to Ross Chastain, who didn't finish good, but hey, he got the fastest lap, which does, at least showed he had some speed at some point in the race, so that was good for Ross Chastain.
With my luck, it was probably because everybody else slowed down because there was a caution. Anyway, Ref, what was your thoughts about the race, other than the fact that Joey Logano unfortunately became the winner?
Yeah, of course, I've never been a Logano hater. I've always said if he didn't race while Kyle Busch was racing, he'd be my favorite driver. But I usually only have one driver, and it was always Kyle Busch. So I've always kind of been a fan of Logano, so I don't hate him like most people do. I think he's a phenomenal race car driver. But, I mean, he pretty much dominated that race. So, it's one of those races where unless you're a fan of that driver, you're going to get bored with it because nobody wants to see somebody, dominate a race unless it is your driver. And then, of course, you like it. But outside of that, it gets boring because it seems like every lap is the same guy up front. But I was just happy overall to see NASCAR go back to North Wilkesboro. Now, I know they have gone, the last couple of years for, the All-Star race, but to see them actually go there and it be a points race, I like that. I was hoping it'd be a sellout crowd because the last couple of years when they first put it back on the schedule, the crowd's been really good. It wasn't a sellout crowd, but it was still, a pretty good crowd. So hopefully it'll be on the schedule for at least the next 4 to 5 years, and then we'll go from there. But NASCAR the last few years had a tendency to every 3-4 years they're putting on a new track and seeing an old track come off. So, it wouldn't shock me at all to see North Wilkesboro come back off the schedule in 3-4 years, but I hope not. But I thought it was a good race.
I think a lot of the crowd was because of the weather. Weather was crazy yesterday all over the place, especially in North Carolina. So I think that a lot of people might have stayed home not wanting to sit out there and get soaked. All right. Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's odd to see. This seems like that's about the third straight week that NASCAR's pretty much ran on a Sunday night. Now, when it's Memorial Day, you kind of get it because they always do the 600 Memorial Day because most people are off, the next day. But it seems like they've kind of almost got away from the Saturday night racing and turned it into Sunday night racing. But I'm not sure that helps because most people have to go to work on Monday morning. Whereas if you're at the racetrack till midnight on Saturday night, for most people, it doesn't matter. So I'm not sure that it helps to start racing on Sunday night, but it seems like that's the third straight week. I'm pretty sure the San Diego road course a few weeks back was on a Sunday night, and then last week's race was Sunday night, and last night's race was Sunday night. So I don't know why they're transitioning from Saturday night under the lights to Sunday night under the lights.
Well, for what I understood, the reasoning is college football's coming back. They'll be playing on Saturday nights. Most football games are on Sunday, or daytime games, or what we call mid-afternoon games. So they can kind of get everybody except for the Sunday night football game, which is only one game, and only be up against one major thing instead of several things.
I just hope it works for them.
Yep. All right.
It might work in TV numbers, but I don't know if it'll work for the audience there because not many folks want to stay out till midnight when you have to work the next day. So it might work for TV numbers wise, but I don't know how it'll work with racetrack attendance wise.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. That was our NASCAR update brought to you by Dorsey Auto Sales in Anderson, South Carolina on Whitehall Road. Go by, see Mr. Dorsey. He will give you a great deal. Now, let's get to our Ardensburg Grill in Central Pro Wrestling update. But before we do that, Ref Brandon, how was your weekend?
Absolutely fantastic. Saturday, I was at Carolina Main Event Wrestling in Greenwood, South Carolina, which is held at the Venus Jiu-Jitsu Saturday night at 7 o'clock. It's in the Ollie's Shopping Center, easy to find right off the main highway there. And then Sunday, me and the family after church took a quick trip to Helen. Just as kind of a quick getaway before school starts back because where we are, school starts back not this week, but next week. So our kids are about to go back to school.
Yep, I think everybody's going to be going back to school early this year. All right, well, Ref Brandon, we have a pay-per-view this weekend, a new one called Redemption. AEW is bringing it on, and Ref, would you believe it? They've only got 8 matches because the buy-in is basically a celebration of 80 years of the Rougeau wrestling dynasty.
I know it's hard to believe you say only, and it's still that many, but we actually have 2 pay-per-views this weekend. The only reason I want to bring up the other one because we talked about it last week and said we'd talk about it when it got closer. So I feel like it only makes sense to bring it up. But this weekend is also the NWA 78th anniversary show.
Yeah, I was going to get to that next.
Yeah, that's this Saturday. It's going to be from the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, 7 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday night.
That's right. All right, Ref, well, let's go down the 8 matches instead of 12, which I think Tony Khan is giving us all a break. So first match of the evening, based on what we've got, is No Holds Barred. The Painmaker, Chris Jericho, his version of the Painmaker, takes on Tommaso Ciampa. What's your thoughts on this one, Ref? This could be quite wild.
I'm going to go with Jericho only because he's kind of, for the most part, done another reinvention of Chris Jericho and trying to change his gimmick and his name again. So I don't think it makes much sense to do all that and have your first big pay-per-view match and then lose. So I'll go with Chris Jericho.
I'm going with Jericho, too, because he's been getting beat up by Ciampa lately, and I think you don't do that unless you're going to have him come out on top eventually. If it was Jericho having it all on Ciampa, it'd be a different story.
Yeah.
All right, then we go to the Young Bucks taking on Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley. Interesting concept of these four.
Yeah, it is. That's one of those matches that's kind of weird to see. You don't know what to expect either. But I'll go with the Young Bucks only because I think at the last pay-per-view they got beat. I think, if memory serves. So I'll go with the Young Bucks this time.
I'm going with Ospreay and Moxley. I don't see the Young Bucks beating them unless someone interferes. I don't see an interference in this match on either side. But I just think you don't beat the guy that's going to be going to Wembley. And then, of course, Moxley's the champion also. I don't see the Young Bucks getting the win in this. I think it's going to be quite physical, and at the end they might shake hands but not be really happy with each other. But the next match we're going to go to is for the AEW National Championship. That's Mark Davis taking on Andrade El Idolo. What's your thoughts on this interesting match?
I want to go with Mark Davis only because it seems like Andrade is one of those guys that, just like in WWE, that's always there, and he's on the pay-per-view about every month, but he never wins a meaningful match. So that makes me want to say Mark Davis, but I'm going to say they shocked the world and give Andrade one of their 87 mid-card titles. So I'll go with Andrade El Idolo.
I agree with you. 87 mid-card titles. All right. But Mark Davis, I think Andrade, they've brought him in for a reason. There was a delay. I think it's time to put a title on him. And I think Mark Davis was considered the transitional champion, not the long-term. Next, we go to the TBS Championship. That's going to be Hiroki Shida versus Maya World. Interesting match.
Well, since I just picked one of their champions to lose, this time I'll pick a champion to retain. So give me Hikaru Shida.
I agree. She just got the belt. Maya World's young. She's got time. I think they give this youngster a good chance to show herself, but in the end, it's going to be the champ. All right, now we come to a match that I'm looking really forward to. Kyle Fletcher, the AEW International Championship, is on the line versus Bandito, the ROH champion. Wow, this is going to be a match that I'm looking forward to watching.
Give me Kyle Fletcher.
I'll take Bandito. All right, folks, we got to have some that me and him are against each other, so it only makes sense. All right, the next one is, of course, my favorite duo. This is for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. We've got Pac and Claudio Castagnoli versus Cage and Cope for the World Tag Team titles. You know who I'm picking, so let's just get to who you got.
Well, I say since Death Riders members of Moxley and Ospreay get beat, here I'll go with Death Rider members Claudio Castagnoli and Pac to win and become the new AEW World Tag Team Champions.
Woo! Wow. Yee, we're really going at each other this again. And then we get to our two main event matches, and these are going to be beauties. We got Thekla defending the AEW Women's World Championship against Willow Nightingale. And this is interesting because the winner goes on to Wembley to take on Miss Thing, Mercedes Moné. Both of these ladies have got issues with her. Thekla recently and Willow Nightingale in the past. So could be interesting how they go with this. Or could we see a three-way battle for this belt in England?
Well, you used the right word, Jay, because any match that has Willow Nightingale in it is a beauty. I don't care who wins, who loses. If she's in it, it's a beauty. So you're right. You used the right word, but I'll go with Thekla to retain.
I knew that was coming. Give me Thecla too. All right, and then we get to the man, the myth, the legend. We're talking about Kenny Omega, not Ref Brandon. Kenny Omega, the cleaner, takes on Kevin Knight in this match with youth versus experience. Could be very worth the pay-per-view in itself.
Well, I think it'll be a good wrestling match, but there's no way that I see Kenny Omega dropping that belt this fast. I'd be stunned if that happened. So I think the outcome should be kind of obvious, but I think the wrestling match itself will still be a phenomenal match.
I agree with you. All right, folks, and therefore that's our AEW Redemption. Now let's go. I just deleted it. Give me a second, folks. I had the NWA.
I got it if you don't.
Yeah, okay. Rep Brandon's got it, so we're going to let him call the matches, and we're going to go over who's going to win and lose. Rep Brandon, tell me who you got.
This has 8 matches as of right now, too. Of course, they might, add one more by the time Saturday gets here, but right now, 8 matches. We have 2 guys that everybody should know just because of their last name, just a one-on-one singles match. It's Kerry Morton and Colby Corino.
That's for the NWA World title.
That's just a regular old singles match, no belts on the line.
Okay.
Nothing on the line. Just Kerry Morton, son of Ricky Morton, versus Colby Corino, son of Steve Corino.
Give me Morton.
Okay, just for kicks and giggles, I'll go with Colby Corino.
All right.
And then we have a women's singles match, no belts, just a one-on-one match. We have Greta versus Natalia Markova.
Oh, Natalia by landslide. I've actually talked to her. She's hottie.
I'll go with Natalia Markova. And then we have another women's match. This is a 3-way match. There's 2 sisters versus a WWE name. So this is 3 names everybody might know. 3-way women's match. Kenzie Page versus Kylie Page versus Natalia Neidhart.
Natalia, they're getting her for a reason. You would think it would be just for the sisters to fight, end up at the end, pinning each other. But I think they give it to Natalia in a sign of good gesture, so that way they might get another WWE personality on another show.
Now we have a dog collar match with Daisy Keel versus Eric Smalls.
Eric Smalls.
This time we agree. I'll go with Eric Smalls too. And now we have a 5-way match to determine the number 1 contender for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Heath versus Pretty Boy Smooth versus Effie versus Kratos versus Talos.
I'd want to go. Give me Heath Slater. Why not? I'm going with Heath Slater. He's coming into this as a TNA star, coming over there to help out. Give me Heath Slater. I think Heath Slater versus Silas would be pretty good.
I'll go with Effie. And now we got a tag team match for the NWA World Tag Team Championships, which is the Country Gentlemen, which is AJ Kazana and Casey Kazana, versus Blunt Force Trauma, which is Carnage and Damage, for the NWA World Tag Team Championships.
Blunt Force Trauma gets the titles. They have been really pushing them, and the Country Boys have had the titles for a while. It's time for a change.
Yeah, Blunt Force Trauma wins. And now here's the match you talked about, the NWA World Championship. We have the champion, which is Silas Mason, versus Carson Drake, who is led to the ring by Aaron Stevens, a name everybody should know. So Silas Mason versus Carson Drake.
It's going to be Silas. There's no way they're putting the title on the other one.
I'm going to go with Carson Drake.
Ooh.
And now we have would probably be the main event match because it's kind of like one of those AEW matches that has 27 guys in it. They're calling this match the Knights of the Round Table. So, Jay, you better write these names down or you might not remember them all.
I know them.
We have the Royal Court, which is King Trevor Murdoch, Mike Knox, Tyler Franks, and Magic Jake Dumas versus the Federation of Champions, which is Sage Chance, Tommy Rant, Buster, and Lockjaw Drake.
Give me the Federation.
Okay, I'll go with the Royal Court.
I knew you would. That's why I picked what I did, because I got a feeling your guys are going to win. But I'm going long shot on that one.
All right, that's our 8 matches for NWA 78 coming up Saturday night from the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. 7 o'clock Eastern time is bell time. It's the 16th event in the NWA anniversary show, so they don't do one every year for whatever reason. I think the last one was 75, so why not wait till 80? I don't know, but they're doing one this Saturday.
All right, folks. Well, there you go. Like we said, we're going to give you a little bit of everybody. If you have a pay-per-view of a federation you're following, MLW, any of those, and you want us to go over it, send it to Ref Brandon at Ref Brandon and the Todd family. Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTubes. Go to his YouTube, write it down, say, hey, Ref, could we do this on the next show? And Ref will get it to me, and we'll go over it and put it up, because that's what we do. Now, tomorrow night, we'll be doing a late show. We have to go over our women's greatest ever bracket, and we're also going to go over the tag team and let you know who is left in that. In the following week, we're going to do both. So we're going to be tying all this in and getting it all done. Now, folks, I know some of you are going, well, what happened on Saturday night's main event? Ref, do you know what happened on Saturday night's main event?
I mean, I know what happened, but I don't know if it's anything.
Nothing really, folks.
Yeah, really worthwhile. But yeah, I know what happened. But
only one title change. We saw Paige and Bree lose the women's tag titles. I forgot what the group's name is. Is it affiliation or something like that?
The biggest news for WWE right now is that Tom Brady is in talks with WWE. I guess either to, I don't know if he wants to just work a match or sign a contract. So I can't blame Tom Brady for getting that money. But at the same time, he's such a pretty boy that I don't think anybody would believe it. Like back in the day when they had guys like, Mr. T. Yeah, he was a celebrity, but he looked like he could have been a wrestler. Nobody's going to look at Tom Brady and say, he looks tough. It doesn't work.
Well, he slapped Jake Paul at the Fanatics, so that's where that came from, folks. So you could be looking at Tom Brady getting in the gym, learning a little bit. I mean, if freaking what's his name? I'm not okay. I forgot.
Jelly Roll?
Yeah, if Jelly Roll can be in WrestleMania, why can't Tom Brady? Put him up against Jake Paul, even though Jake Paul would run circles around him. He's going to carry him in the match. And somehow Brady will have interference to help him win. It always happens like that. This is just nothing but WWE trying to find a way to sell out another pay-per-view or to get people to go to Saudi Arabia, of all places. I think that's the stupidest thing. Nothing against people that are Saudi Arabians. I just think going over to Saudi Arabia with everything that's going on and holding WrestleMania is a nightmare. That's just me. In the world we live in today, I just don't think that's smart. But that's just me, Ref. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't feel safe going over there. I know they just had the Night of Champions, but I wouldn't do it.
Well, when they first started and did the very first show, I was like, okay, that's fine. It's going to sell out. You're going to make good money doing it. But now it seems like that they're just going so much And it just seems like before long it's going to get watered down, and the fans are just going to quit caring, because it's different if you get something, once every 2 or 3 years. When you start getting it once every 2 or 3 months, it just doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah, and I understand some people say, well, they're tired of always going to the same arenas in the United States. United States fans don't turn out like some of the other ones do. Well, that might be true. Your WWE's not over in Saudi Arabia as far as doing shows all around the country itself, but I don't know. I understand that a lot of fans have turned against the WWE. If you notice, they don't do the flying drone as much because there's not as many fans can afford to go to a WWE event. And I mean, let's face it, folks. The storylines are just not where they used to be. So a lot of fans are turning against that. Now, as far as the AEW, I understand they are already at 90% of Wembley Stadium sold out, Ref. That means there's only 10% left, and a lot of those tickets are being held today of. What's your thoughts on that?
I think they'll probably end up, selling out, which is a, phenomenal thing. Me and a guy from work were talking about, you just mentioned storylines last week, and I told him that, because of social media, wrestling on TV now is almost impossible to watch unless you have no social media at all, because it seemed like back in the day, wrestling fans watched wrestling to be wrestling fans and enjoy the product. But now it seems like every wrestling fan watches it, and they all watch it with a booker's mentality. It just seems like no matter what you do, it's dumb, it's stupid, it's idiotic. And it's like every wrestling fan hates wrestling, so I don't understand why they even watch it when it's all so bad. But it's like every decision that's made is dumb, it's stupid, it makes no sense. And nothing in wrestling now, as far as the big time companies, makes any sense, and none of it's good enough. And I read an article earlier today, AJ Styles, and he said that he thinks that WWE, in his opinion, has, at least for right now, has dropped the ball on Gunther, because Gunther goes out there and pretty much retires Goldberg and retires John Cena and retires AJ Styles, and now they're doing nothing with them. And he said, in my opinion, yeah, they've kind of dropped the ball, but I have no desire to be a booker, because when you book wrestling now, you've got to be smarter than all the wrestling fans. And it made me think of that conversation from work last week, because now all wrestling fans, they're the smartest thing ever. Every idea you do is stupid, and I don't understand it. Why can't you just sit back and watch wrestling and enjoy wrestling?
Well, Ref, I mean, that's what our job is. I mean, we're Rasslin and Racin. We critique both NASCAR. We critique both wrestling. So it is what it is. It's social media. I mean, and it's nothing that people were doing this back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I don't know how many times I called WWF at the time Cartoon Network. I mean, you had silly stuff going on. You had Akeem the Dream, who was actually the one-man gang, doing crazy dances when he used to be one of the most feared professional wrestlers ever. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we're all going to critique because we all come from a different generation of pro wrestling. Some people want the Attitude Era to return. Some people rather not. They want to go back to Ric Flair, NWA type, like I do. I mean, then we got some that likes all this craziness. Then we have some that wants to be the ECW crowd. So I mean, it's a little bit of everything. So I mean, no matter what you do, people are going to critique. People critique me regardless of, I don't know how many times I've said, people say, you need to shave. Well, you know what? I do shave, but it grows back fast. It is what it is.
Well, I don't personally, if I was going to pick one era, so to speak, to return to, I would say probably the 80s, only because it was no particular company or, no particular wrestler or gimmick. It was just, in the 80s and early 90s was when wrestling was actually, to me, wrestling. You can go back and watch a lot of the 60s and 70s stuff, and back in those days, like we talked about last week, a lot of their matches was nothing but punches and kicks, and the finishing moves was just a basic clothesline or a
elbow
suplex. Yeah, so there wasn't much actual. It was just simple, basic stuff. And then by the late 90s, you had all the crazy gimmicks come in where it was all about the gimmicks and nothing about wrestling. And now in the last 10 years, it's pretty much turned into almost everybody's robotic and does the same moves every single match, every night. But the 80s was a time when I think wrestling was actually at its peak as far as guys went out there and just wrestled night in, night out. And that's, to me, what made wrestling was actually watch the guys wrestle. The 70s and 60s was just too basic. And then after that, it became more about the gimmicks. You had Nitro and Raw trying to find who could have the craziest, most outlandish gimmick. And the wrestling didn't matter. It was all about the characters.
Yep. All right, folks. Well, that's it for tonight. We said it was going to be a short show, but actually we did our normal 30-minute show or more. So we want to thank you for watching and listening to us here at Rasslin Racing Podcast. We also want to make sure you go and vote. Go to Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube channel. Make sure you see Ref. He's on there almost every day. And he doesn't always do pro wrestling. He does football. He does racing. He does sports. Whatever's on his mind, especially on Wednesday. Wednesday, he does a top 10. And when he does his top 10, it could be anything. If you want him to do a top 10 on a certain subject, let him know. And now, understand it might not be the following Wednesday, but he will get to it, and he will let you know when it's going to be. Just make sure you leave a message on Ref Brandon Todd Family. Make sure you subscribe and like the channel. Ref, anything else you want to say?
Very, very, very quickly, just for the folks in the area that may not know, because unless you're on Facebook, you may not know, this Friday night, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson will be in Royston, Georgia, at the Royston Dome. Now, SCA runs there every single Friday night, but they brought in AJ Styles, I think, 3 weeks ago. So now they're kind of continuing the storyline with AJ and the Good Brothers. So this Friday, there'll be Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are going to be in a match that'll feature AJ Styles' son, Avery, who made his debut there 3 weeks ago. That show will be at 8 o'clock Friday night at the Royston Dome.
Well, there you go, folks. And Ref, are you going to be there doing your reffing?
I don't think so, but you never know. But I don't think I'll be there. But I still, love to promote, local independent
exactly.
wrestling. But I've got a show Saturday night in East Denali for Total Aggression Wrestling. I know I'll be there.
All right, folks. Make sure you go out, support Ref Brandon, support the boss, and make sure you support independent pro wrestling because they are future superstars and some of the generation that's already come and gone. And we want to make sure we go out, support them, go out, take the kids. It's great family entertainment, and you will not regret it. All right, folks, this has been Rasslin Racing, brought to you by Ardensburg Grill in Central South Carolina. Go by see Donnie and Angie, and they're open 6 days a week. The only day they're closed is on Monday. And, of course, Wednesday is wing day. And then, of course, other days, they have everything from the greatest burgers to all-day breakfast. You name it, they got it. Also, we want to thank Dorsey Auto Sales in Anderson, South Carolina. Thank you, Mr. Dorsey, for what you do. Thank you for the great car you gave me because you know what? I haven't had a bit of trouble with it. That tells you, folks. All right, this has been Rasslin Racing, brought to you by Dorsey Auto Sales and Ardensburg Grill and Pepsi and Greenville Sports Media. Thanks for joining us, everybody. So long.